Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Exploring Nollywood podcast. I'm your host, Mimi, and with me, I have a very distinguished guest. I'm so very happy to have her on my podcast. She's my auntie. Everyone's my auntie. But auntie, please, could you introduce yourself in your own
Okay.
words?
Oh, sure. My name is Evelyn Ikwenobe Otaigbe. That's my name. What else do you want to know? That's who I am.
Auntie Evelyn is a producer, a director, and a writer of Nollywood movies. She starred in various TV shows. You might know her from a show called Behind the Clouds. It was really popular. She has written, directed, starred in so many stage plays, Nollywood movies, and Nollywood TV shows. So today we're going to talk about her capacity as a producer, which is what I'm really interested in. We're going to be talking about the processes of developing, producing, and directing your own Nollywood movie. It's very fascinating. Last time we had Auntie Ameza, who talked about producing her movies in the early days of Nollywood. So, Auntie, what in the first place, what drove you to enter into Nollywood?
Okay, well, so I've always been interested in film and TV and the stage, right from my youth, from what we used to call primary or elementary school to secondary school. And I studied TV and mass communication for my first degree at the University of Jos. And I've had that pedigree, and I've always been involved in films and TV. My first film was in 1984.
Yeah.
And that was with Eddie Uboma, late Eddie Uboma. And then subsequently I did other productions. So my entry was not really coincidental. It was something that had already been carved out for me that I've always wanted to do. And I give God the glory for giving me the talent and the opportunities to be involved in it.
Yeah.
Now, after doing the TV productions, and then moved into what now became known as the Nollywood of the late 80s, early 90s. There was, it was a gradual transition from an evolution that way from how it was then when we did in 84. Prior to that, when the Olarotimi, the Ogundes were doing their own thing, and to this period, they've all been different eras, characterized by their own different things. So going into production was a transition for me from because I've always been involved in different aspects of the total ensemble of the theater and the film thing. Mm-hmm. You now realize that there are different aspects. So producing in itself is a different area from the directing itself, or the script writing, or the costuming, or whatever it is. So if you're talking about the producing itself, when I produced Babysitters, which was like the first one I produced. I think this was in 94, I think. We started with the pre-production, the concept. I came up with the concept, the idea of the script, and then got partnered with one of Nollywood's film directors, and we got a script writer to put, the whole thing into a script. Yeah. And so
Auntie, if I could stop you there.
Yes. Sure.
At what point did you think I'm going to move away from starring in productions that are not my own? I'm going to move away from the plays and the TV shows. And what made you decide, okay, I'm going to do a movie?
Well, I will not say I moved from any, because I'm still involved in the total production itself. Because in this particular one, I also acted in it.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm still involved in different aspects, but this was this was where I was involved in the funding.
Mm.
And this was where I was also involved in ensuring that we maximized the funds we had. We got the best, but we were able to work within the budget of a no budget. Let me put it that way. But we were able to put up all these professionals, have everything from the pre to the post done at the time, within the timeline that we wanted, and to ensure that we did not have too much cost overruns. So just putting the totality together, being involved with the casting, being involved with the crew members, ensuring that your crew was right on time, ensuring that the production coordinator was doing his job, ensuring that you had your locations ready, ensuring, and then you deal with the environmental hazards that you could have, like, okay, you may not have light, some
Yes.
actors may not get there. Some actors may not get there on time. Some actors may fall ill within the production. So many things, so many, different things just come up on a daily basis, that you have to find a way. You have to really be able to look at the bigger picture and anticipate things that could occur, because every day you're spending money.
Yes.
Okay. And if you are not the executive producer, the executive producer would give you X amount of money and would want you to ensure that you work within the budget. All he is interested in is return on his investment. So you have to ensure that you give him the best. You have to ensure that you do everything within, you get your editors, you get everything done at a good time, so that you can release your film, and then you give him his his return on his investment.
What is the difference between an executive producer and a producer?
The executive producer may not necessarily be involved in the day-to-day running of the production itself. The executive producer may just be a financier. Sometimes some act in both capacities. The executive producer could even be a corporate entity who just realizes that, okay, yes, you can do this job. Here is $2, $3, but I want $5 back after 10 weeks or whatever. But the producer is involved with every single aspect. Administratively, the producer is there. Creatively, the producer is there, ensuring that the funds that have been put in his or her hands are used judiciously and meet the target. So the producer is working with distributors, is working with marketers, is working with the graphics people, putting everything together to ensure that you have this wonderful pot, this cookie, this meal that you're preparing, and everything is being done right. Yes. So that's the difference.
Well, obviously you do enjoy it because you do, but what are the perks of the job for you?
The perks of producing?
Yes.
I think it's the creativity that it entails, the fact that you are able to envisage something, and you are able to look at the different things that could happen, and you're able to anticipate, and you're able to put a picture together working with your director. The director is basically for the final visual look, for the what the audience sees, but what goes on behind the scenes, you are the one who is going to really ensure that everything is done right. So I think I enjoy just the being the melting pot, kind of all this, the creativity ensemble that you have put together, the people, everybody that is working with you, and understanding the different needs that they have, understanding the different things that they're supposed to do, putting together, it becomes like a jigsaw puzzle for you. You get all the right pieces together, and it becomes a full picture.
Oh, that sounds so lovely. That sounds like really, really nice to do.
But, well, it's fun, but it's a lot of work.
Yes. What made you go specifically into Nollywood? Was it like a product of your environment, or did you say, I want to make a Nollywood movie? I mean, at that time, it
Well, I
wasn't
would
really
say
Nollywood.
it wasn't Nollywood at that time. Like I said, the film and the theater and the TV have been going through series of evolution, and I have been a part of that evolution. So at
Yeah.
every given point in time, I am moving with the times. I'm constantly, reinventing and just going because this is the field that I love and I want to be in for life. So I have to move with the times. So being part of it was just a natural transgression. It was a natural process that we just moved into that. And then as you move into it, you now find out that you have to study more, you have to learn more because you have to understand your craft, and you have to hone your skills. So it gives you the
Mm.
opportunity of retraining, retooling, relearning. So there's always something to do. Your brain cells are always being activated and always being put to task. You must be moving, you must be seen to be, learning on a regular basis, looking at every single opportunity that you get, both internationally and locally.
Okay. That's really interesting to hear. But let me get really specific.
Mhm.
Why specifically do you love working on Nollywood films?
Well, yes, I do because Nollywood films are unique.
Okay.
They are original. They are authentic. We as Africans, because I want to use the Nollywood thing as I know they don't want to have it as a Nigerialization of
Mm.
African film, but a lot of the things that we do are similar, whether it's from Ghana or South Africa or wherever it is. Probably mostly the language that or the accent that is different,
Mm.
but our stories are very, very unique. And we haven't had people telling our stories in the right way. We have so much to give. It has not been tapped. We have history that has not come out. Nollywood has a lot to offer. We haven't even scratched the surface yet.
I
Okay. We are the only ones who can actually archival our history. We're the only ones who can actually teach civics at the end of the day. We are the only ones who can really tell the stories from our own perspective. Now, I have short films in the United States.
mm,
Again, using the perspective of a Nigerian living in the United States, because that is my history, that's my culture. Okay.
okay.
So wherever I go, Nigeria, Africa, our story, our history is important. And Nollywood and our history are synonymous.
That's very well put, Auntie. That's that is the truth. Like Nollywood, Africa, Nigeria, Nollywood is just like an encapsulation of who we are and our culture. And
Hmm. Hmm.
the more we are able to show our culture to other people, the better it is for us. And of course, Nollywood is also the
Absolutely.
way we deal with various issues, which is where I want to come into some of the movies that you have produced, directed. What stories did you feel had to be told?
Um, I I look at our culture and I look at some of the things that are positive or negative. I come from a lot. If you read my books or a lot of my works, you find that I come from the gender perspective.
Okay.
I find a lot of injustice in the system, in the African traditional way of viewing women. Those are stories. When you look at some of the stories that some of the things that women have been through,
Yeah.
you know that we have so much to tell, and that the African woman is an epitome of strength. At the same time, she is also the most good person. So, and then there's so much expected of her. And then the society is skewed in favor of gender inequality.
Mm.
So the African woman to me has a lot to give, but she's not even given the opportunities of doing those things because the society that we are, and again, it probably cuts across a lot of other societies as well because it's the man's world,
Mm. The
and
man's world.
yeah, it's a man's world really. But there are some systems, and that is where we will be going to eventually, hopefully, not really be going to be that body or that entity or that group of persons, or will be able to even influence policies, when we see the injustices in the system, when we know that, okay, traditionally we are not corrupt people, we are not cultists, we are not voodoo people, we're not this, and we start to change that perspective and even now influence government in policy enactment, then we know that we are actually doing, because art is not art for art's sake. Art has a purpose. Art must be seen to be imitating life, but art must change. You cannot just do something without it, without an intention behind it. So the things I do come from a point of looking at societal issues, be it gender mutilation, be it rape, be it just anything that has to do with the injustice in our system. Those are the kind of stories, the human angle stories that I like to tell.
And Nancy, you have done a lot of work around women's rights and the girl child.
Yes.
So
yes.
I can imagine it's a huge passion of yours. What about the frustrations that come from producing Nollywood movies? You have mentioned it. You mentioned it a bit earlier when you were talking about the light issue and your actors. So, what sort of unique problems do you face when you're creating a Nollywood movie?
Okay, so there are basic problems that have to do with the society in general, where we find ourselves shooting. Hey, if the entire continent, or if Nigeria doesn't have power, there is no way Nollywood will not experience that problem, because we are part of the system, So there are some problems that subsume whatever genre, whatever industry that you're working with. Okay, but in Nollywood, the kind of issues that we have are have a lot to do with structure.
Okay.
For example, having people who are professionals. There are ethics of every profession.
Yes.
I remember when I was in theater school, my first day, first class, my professor then told us that, hey, the theater is a place for disciplined people.
Okay.
Now you could be looking at theater artists from afar and say, oh, they're just clapping, they're just doing it. No, there's a lot to it. It's very methodical. You have to be, disciplined to a fault. Okay, so if we don't have professionalism in the industry, people may not take us serious.
Yes.
If charlatans are involved in the industry and they don't know the rules that guide the industry, there's a problem. And everybody does whatever they feel like. If you have individuals who are bigger than the institutions in Nollywood, there's a problem. Where you have people, and I think that's the major issue, where people do not abide by rules, where you can just willy-nilly do whatever you feel like doing, and there are no laws that are implemented. Yes, there's no law, there's no deterrent for anybody who is an erring person. There's no professionalism. You cannot have call time for 2:00 and somebody walks in by 5. It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable anywhere. But for those who are trained in the field, and those who have even been trained informally, they may not go to formal school, but they have been trained over the years, they understand what it means. You cannot just be a pretty face or a good body or whatever it is and just think that because of that you come in and you are a star and then you hold everybody to ransom. It's not done. So professionalism, because that is, that guides, is critical. I'm glad that now they are earning good money. Nollywood actors are, again, earning good money. So a lot of people now take it serious. So we now have to move a step further and ensure that those who are now in the industry, who are not supposed to be the professionals, are actually learned in the craft.
So they actually know how to act.
Yeah, because stage acting is different from TV acting, is different from film acting. Yes. You just don't come and just take your stage acting and not move it to a TV location. And then the time too that we are given to produce You have to be realistic. If you want the best, you have to give people time to immerse themselves in the script, in the character, to go and observe. I remember then we would go out, go to even marketplaces. If you're going to play the part of the mad person, you go to the market square, you stay there, you observe, you learn, you know that your body is your tool. You push your body, you push everything that you have to ensure that you have the right thing. You don't just come there and just, do whatever. You have to take the job seriously because it's a profession. So those are some of the problems that we may be having in the industry, where people just come in, the professionalism may not be there, they just, because there are no rules guiding, and even if the rules are there, it's not even implemented. And then there are some people who are now stars in quote who seem to be above the law. It's just a myriad of issues.
Oh, wow. These are like some issues that I think other people involved in the industry probably might not be as aware, or it might not matter as much to them, I guess.
Well, go ahead.
Are there any other like issues that
with the industry?
Not with the industry, but the issues that you would face if you are, because obviously Nollywood and Hollywood are completely different. And we know that the problems that Hollywood would face and the problem that Nollywood production will face are a lot different. And as you said, there's, lack of that's a hard word. Lack of professionalism in the industry is one, structural issues is another. I was just asking, are there more issues that are unique to Nollywood?
Well, Nollywood is a business, or film making or entertainment, is supposed to be business. That's why they call it show business.
Yes.
So our responsibility is to ensure that we don't just do the show, but we also know about the business. So we need more education about what our rights are, what we should be doing, the contracts that we're supposed to be signing. We need to be signing contracts. Before you go on set, there must be a code of conduct. There are little subtle things that make you know that, hey, wait a minute, I am in a professional environment. I got to conform this environment. There are rules and regulations. Now, when you are shooting outside, the laws there, you abide by the laws, or there's a penalty. Okay. And you can't escape it. But we find that in Nollywood, you can just, again, the same issues that affect the country as a whole, where, some people do things and get away with it. It's industry as well. So we have to put, again, structure, not to stifle creativity. No. There was a bill that they wanted to pass some time ago. I don't know, they are reading it, Mopicon bill or whatever it is, that has been so controversial. I think the creative people and the government need to sit together in honesty, with transparency, with accountability, and with thinking about the future generation, and come up with something that creates that synergy or that cohesion that works. Because this industry is very, very lucrative.
Yes,
it can be the biggest money spinner in the country. So there's no way the government would not be involved in it, and there's no way the creatives will not be involved in it. But most of the time it's private sector driven, but the government gives us the enabling environment. Now we have to work together to ensure that we take it serious, that this is a business. We need to know know how to cross our T's and dot our I's, know the right things, look at what works in other climes, in Canada, in the United States, in London, put those things together and then customize it to work in our own environment, and let people know that, hey, you're coming into an industry that has its rules, that has its ethics, and that you have to abide by them. You don't just come because you feel that, okay, you know this person, or you are whatever, and you just come in and willy-nilly
I can understand. There has been the recent controversy about the law that the government is trying to pass about Nollywood
True.
producers and submitting their content to local broadcasters. It has
Mm-hmm.
caused a lot of issues. But I guess that's what you
Yeah.
see. Anything that's wrong with Nigeria, that's what's wrong with Nollywood.
Okay.
And that
Exactly. Exactly.
whatever changes in Nigeria affects Nollywood. As a producer, what do you think about these big giants that are coming, that have or and are upcoming in the industry? For example, Iroko or Netflix or Prime, all these bigger producers that are creating a bigger market for Nollywood overseas or
I think
internationally.
I think it's I think it's one of the best things to happen to the industry. I believe that we are evolving. We cannot be in the dark ages. We cannot be in the medieval times. Okay, we have to go with what is current. We cannot be sitting down and doing traditional brick and mortar kind of things when technology has moved light years ahead. Now, the Netflix and the rest of them who have the models and is working. I set up an online TV platform,
Yeah.
Dias TV, that was carved out, one of the first to be carved out to actually also monetize people's products. We find that, okay, we've realized that there's been problems with piracy in the
Oh,
country.
yes.
We've realized that there's problem with people actually getting paid for their hard work. But these other people are still evolving. Netflix every day, I'm sure they are still, looking at different things and
Mm.
working their models out and all that. We cannot sit down and just think that, okay, it's our CDs and our videos and our whatever, and that's and TV. No, the world has, this is a global community now. Everything is online, everything is digital. We cannot be left behind, particularly as Nigerians and Africans are the most intelligent, the most resourceful people that you can think about. They have everything. They just need the opportunities. With the unemployment in the country, the industry itself can hire
Yes.
so many people who will be working, churning out things on a regular basis. And, we have, we take over a huge chunk of a market. They don't even have enough of our programs outside the country. We can't even meet up with the needs. So we have to move with the times.
Mm.
We have to go digital. The IROCs of this world, the Root Flicks of this
Yeah.
world, all of them. We have to go with what they are doing. But we have to make sure that we work within the confines or the rules. We have to be compliant with our rules.
Mm.
That's where I say the government and the creatives have to work together. Okay, so if you find that there is a particular law that is, that has its knees on the neck, and the people are not able to do things, you can ease it, because you know that this is an evolving thing.
Mm.
You know that things, we keep trying different things, until we get the model right. But everybody has to come with honesty. It's not an individualistic thing. You don't just come thinking that you want to make so much money and forget that there's a whole generation coming behind you who are resting on your shoulders and looking at you as that platform, as that ladder to go up further.
Mm.
Sometimes you may not be the one to reach the stars. You may just be the conduit. So play your role as that conduit and do it right. So I applaud all the digital mediums. I applaud anything. I look at all these little, YouTube videos that I see,
Yeah.
and I'm like, wow. And I see the different ways they're getting money. Look at iTunes. Look at how artists, the Nigerian, the music has just gone, has grown exponentially.
Yeah. Afrobeats is
And so,
big.
and exactly, that is how our films should be. That's what our films should be now.
Um,
Everybody worldwide should be hooked on Nigerian or African films, and will be making a lot of money. The government will be making a lot of money because you are getting your taxes. Everybody is happy. You reduce unemployment. You reduce corruption. You sell positive image of your country through films. America has
yeah,
done it.
America has with their soft power and Hollywood. I
Exactly.
My next question is a bit two-pronged. So the first one is this new model, are you seeing that it's creating some issues? And do you think in the future, this mass globalization that we're all hoping for, like this heights that we need Nollywood to achieve, do you think that there'll be any downsides to that?
So downsides to the digital world.
Yes.
Everything has everything has a downside to it, but you have to know what outweighs. Does the good outweigh the bad? The internet, as it in itself, some people have misused it, and some people have, made the right use of it. So it's now our choice to make sure that we use it right. So that's why we're evolving. Somewhere along the line, you find out that, okay, well, this thing did not work well, or everybody now loads onto the social media thing. Everybody loads all kinds of videos. There may be no censorship, and somebody's trying to censor you, and some people are shouting, they're gagging the press, they're doing this. It's all part of the process. So there must be some few bad apples.
Some growing pains.
Yes, there are people who may take advantage of the lacuna or the void that they see within the system. But we cannot give up because of that and not harness something that is good, that is progressive, that is productive, and that has great potentials. We just need to keep evolving. Hollywood still has problems. Hollywood had its own problems. Hollywood has its growing pains. It did not get to where it is today by people sitting down and being pretty. No, it went through a lot of changes. So we are also going through those changes, our own changes. But we must look at the positive sides and continue to go forward with the positives, understanding that, like you just said, there will be growing pains.
We just hope that the pains are not too big, which brings me to my next question is new Nollywood. On the podcast, we love to differentiate between old Nollywood and new Nollywood. Do you feel like that? Do you feel like there's a demarcation between the old school type of Nollywood and then this new type of films that we're seeing?
I find it so interesting when you say that new Hollywood, new old Hollywood. You know what? It's an industry that is evolving. It's an industry that is evolving. There were people there. It's like a tree. You have its roots. Then you have the trunk. Then you have the stems. Then you have the branches. Then you have the leaves. It just doesn't start from the leaves. No, it started from the roots. So there are people who were there before. There are people who were there with Herbert Macaulay setting up the film industry in Nigeria.
Oh, wow.
There are people there during there were people in the golden era. There are people who were there during Ogunde and these other Olaya and all these people. They were there. The Yoruba Traveling Theatre, they were there. Then they came to the NTAs and the TV productions and all that. And then they now moved. There was a time when there were film houses everywhere. I used to go to the film houses. They used to show Chinese movies. They used to show Indian movies. Then they started showing Nigerian movies. I watched Ayeba Ogunde. I watched PC Daughter of the River, but with Jabadu. So we are evolving. When you now start saying old and new, you are creating a problem. You are creating disunity. You are not allowing everybody to feel that they belong. New would mean to me that, okay, well, there's technology now. The pay is better. When I went Behind the Clouds, hey, I was paid like 50 naira.
Oh, wow.
Per episode, yes. I was happy doing it. It was what I wanted to do. I just loved being there. When we did, Soweto, which was an international film, they paid us they paid money. And what I'm saying is that we are evolving. So we should not look and say this is new. The so-called old should not look at the young and say, what do these guys know? When we were there, when we started, it makes the younger people feel alienated. It makes them feel, hey, sometimes the older people say these things in such a condescending manner. And then they now feel that, the younger ones now feel that these people are, they're arrogant or whatever, or the older ones, when you start creating that demarcation, you now start getting certain vibes, which is not productive and is not healthy for the industry. That's what I feel. I, as somebody who probably, you may say, I belong to the old generation. I don't know. I don't look at myself like that. I belong to Nollywood, old, new, young, the future. I'm there.
Auntie,
it doesn't matter to me. Doesn't matter to me.
That's That is really interesting because it's like we're obsessed on the podcast about new and old Nollywood. And
sorry to burst your bubble.
no, but it is a good point. But we shall see. My next episode is going to be talking specifically on that, and so I'll definitely take your comments into like, I'm definitely going to think about them. They're definitely going to have an effect on what we are talking about, new or Nollywood. So, Auntie, I have heard you.
We just need to find a way for the so-called old and the so-called new to work together as a team. That's all. And not come up with this old new. We're all part of the same body. It's like dividing the body of Christ. Why are you dividing it? We are together in this. Let's work and make it happen for the future generation.
Thank you for listening to us on part 1 of Nollywood production, and join us in part 2 where I interview our guests.